plant's super easy to identify. Got these big raspberry leaves on it, and you can't miss these beautiful, beautiful berries growing on it. That's why they call them beauty berries. They're actually called American beauty berries. But yeah, really a good way to go with these things. I've seen the jelly when it's finished, and it's the prettiest red color, and they say it tastes pretty much like raspberry jelly or even better, so we're going to find that out too. But these plants here, I'll show you. See if we can scan down where Nancy's at. Every one of these plants along here are beautyberry plants. We literally parked a car in the corner and we've hit maybe 3-4 bushes and damn near have what we need to do this. And I'm sure it's like that in your neighborhood too. If you get out and find a wooded area with some roads and just cruise them. And it looks to me, from what I've seen, they bloom the month of September. So there's your time to go get them. And they stay on a tree a long time too. That's another thing I noticed when we've been out hunting. We keep seeing these, and this whole month we've seen them. And they're still on there, and they're not, you know, they're not weak berries. They hold tough for a long time. And I'm not really sure how long they're going to be on the trees. I'll keep watching, and I'll let that know in the video as we continue on with this, because this is kind of a process. But we probably got enough berries now, so anyway, we're going to get to the next step. Let's see what you got in there. Oh yeah, you got probably 2 pounds, almost 3. Let it fill across the bottom, because that's why I judge the other way. Cover the bottom with it and see if it covers the whole bottom. Yep, that's about 3 pounds. All right, let's go make some wine. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fill this up 4 times to give us our gallon. So I can show you the whole process, because now that we're making jelly, I get to show you exactly how to boil the berries and strain them. Our faucet's a little slow, so you got to be patient with me. I can't wait to do the video on the jelly, because from what I've seen and heard, the jelly is just out of this world. Out of this world. All right, that's 3. All right, let's get that going on high. All right, that's 4. Now these are 24 ounces. A true gallon is 432 ounces. But the berries, the 3 pounds of berries, they're going to make up that extra jar. So that's how we get the formula to get a gallon of wine. All right, and that's it. We're going to take these berries, roughly 3 pounds, and just pour them in there. Of course, like I said, this is after you pick out the stink bugs, the little fruit spiders. You rinse them in water. So, you know, where this particular spot where we got these is along a dirt road. And every time a car goes by, you see a cloud of white sand land on these berries. So we had to clean them pretty good to get all that out of there. And that's it. You just get those berries in there. And now we're going to let that boil. Now, when they get to a point, after I boiled them for about a minute, and then I shut them off to let them simmer, you're going to see the color of these berries. They turn brown, just brown. And again, just let the boil do the work. Don't squeeze these berries and grind them in a grinder. I've seen people do it. You don't need to do all that, or you'll end up with cloudy wine. Just let the berries extract itself with the heat. All right, we're going to put a lid on that and let that do its business. And this is going to be our jelly. I'll make a video on that too, but right now I want to show you how to make the wine. Up to this point, it's the same process. But like I said, when you make the jelly, the formula for that is 6 cups of berries, 6 equal parts, 6 berries, 6 cups of berries, 6 cups of water, and 50% sugar. And that's why you get rid of the bitter taste. A lot of sugar. A lot of sugar. All right, let's let that boil up and do its thing while we're letting this sit over here and cool down on its own. And we'll continue. All right, so you've seen us pick the berries. We picked 3 pounds of berries. The recipe is 3 pounds of berries, 1 gallon of water, 6 pounds of sugar, and 3 wine yeast packets, which you have right here. Active dry yeast, basically for wine. I mean, they sell it in a jar, but everything that I've looked into, these are the best way to go because you've got measured packets. 3 is exactly what you need. It also calls for 3 lemons. We're going to slice these lemons up, and we're going to put them in there, husks and all, and we're going to boil it. Because what I did is I boiled the berries. We picked those berries. You've seen us do that. We brought them in here, picked all the bugs out and the little green pieces and got it down to just the berries. And we put it on a pot. I took the mason jar, measured 4 mason jars, which is a gallon of water, poured it in there, and we boiled it. All you have to do is bring it up to a boil. I let it boil for about a minute, and then you shut it off, put a lid on it, and just let it simmer. So we did that. So after you're done with that, you got to let it cool down enough so you don't burn your strainers, because ours are plastic. And you basically put it in a sink, put the strainer in there, pour the berries in there, and don't squeeze or chop up the berries. Keep the berries whole the way they are, and let the boiling do the job. And when you're done simmering, the berries, you'll see they shrink. There's just not really much left of them. You take those and you chuck them out after you strain it. You don't need the berries no more. So what we got here is a pot of some nice burgundy color, nothing but beauty berry and water. So what we're going to do is I'm going to heat it up so it'll dissolve the sugar really well. And then we're going to pour in the sugar and stir that. We're not going to boil it. We're just going to heat it up. And then I'm going to cut up the husk limes. I'm going to put it in there. I'm just going to let it, simmer for a while like that. Let that stuff get in there. And then when it cools down to room temperature, because you don't want to put the yeast in there when it's boiling hot, you don't want to do it cold, you want to do it room temperature. We're going to add the yeast packets in there, stir it around nice and good. We're going to take a 5-gallon bucket and pour this mix into that bucket, put a plastic lid on it. And I'm telling you how to do this at your home because not everybody's got the pressure pots and the vent gauge and all that. This is how you just do it at home with simple stuff that you see me using here. So you pour that chemical in that bucket, put that lid snap on it with the husks in there and everything that you see, and you let it sit for 2 weeks. That's the first step of fermentation. After 2 weeks, you want to take it, strain it out again, get rid of the lemons, and get it down to just the liquid, and then let it sit for a month, 2 months. The longer you let it sit, the stronger it gets. So from what I've seen, the standard alcohol ratio is about 13%. So this stuff gives you a pretty good buzz. But we did add 2 tablespoons of, it says to put in a stick, a cinnamon stick. We just use cinnamon powder just to skip that process. So this is all just basic household stuff. So anyway, right now we're going to just let this simmer up, get a little warm. I'm going to stir in 6 pounds of sugar. And like I said, we're going to add in the limes, or the lemons, let it do its business. Shut everything down, let it get to room temperature, add the yeast, and the bucket, let it sit. Now, like I said about these berries, when you strain them out, I actually used an old tent screen, from a tent window, which is a really fine mesh. That's why I had to let it cool down. I didn't want to burn its plastic. It worked great. But when you're done and you get all those berries in there, don't squeeze the berries. They say if you do that, it'll cloud it up. And it's going to be a little cloudy anyway for about 2 weeks until you strain all that stuff out. And then as it settles, it'll just turn burgundy, really burgundy pink color. So that's about it, So the rest is just heat and let it do its business. All right, we're going to go ahead and strain these berries out. You watch me boil them down. I let it cool down. And here we go. That nice amber color coming out of there. It gets even redder when you make the jelly. There goes the berries. See how nice and brown they are? It's our homemade sink here. We built this house. I'll do a video on that one day. But it's a log cabin we built with the logs from the land. And no contractors. We did all our own work, plumbing, electricity, roof, you name it. I built this thing from scratch. My kids helped me in the early stages, the ex-wife, and then me and Nancy moved up here, retired from Loxahatchee, and we finished her off upstairs, did all the woodwork, so yeah, that's a whole nother video. All right, so there you go. That's what spent beauty berries look like. Just brown. Got a whole gallon of liquid, and that there I'm going to make jelly with. I just wanted to show you this process because it's the same for wine. So now you've got the full video, so stay tuned. All right, so we warmed this up. I diced up those lemons like we talked about, and I threw them all in there. As you can see, I squeezed them too. Beauty berries, which I actually said it wrong, and I made a video about making the mosquito repellent with the leaves. It's called CapCut americana. That's the scientific name for beauty berry, American beauty berry. But the berries are kind of bitter, so when you put these lemons in there, the acid helps break those berries down, and it gives it an extra little flavor between that and the cinnamon that we put in there. So, it's what I'm going to do is I'm making jelly too. We're going to make a video on that, so I am going to go ahead and film the process of us taking those berries, boiling them, and straining them, so I'll be able to show you that. So you've got every process to do this. And this is really going to make an amazing wine. You're going to see, you know, anything that's bitter, you add enough sugar to it and the bitter is gone. So it's warm enough now. We've got the lemons in there. We've got the beauty berry juice with just the water. We're going to stir in this sugar now. 6 pounds of sugar. A lot of sugar. But in all reality, that's what makes the alcohol. When you put the sugar in there, which we're going to stir up now, and then you add the yeast reacts with the sugar, and that's what makes alcohol. You can do this with any fruit. We made blueberry wine. You can do it with beauty berries. You can do it with sea grapes. I mean, there's just pretty much every fruit in the planet that you got, you can make this. And the truth is, after this is fermented and you ran it through a still, you're basically making brandy, which is, moonshine. When you do it with a fruit, it's moonshine. And they call it brandy. So right now we're making wine. So yeah, let's stir that, get that sugar to dissolve. I'm going to let it stay warm here without boiling for a while. Let that lemon juice get in there and break that stuff down. And this stuff is going to be amazing. Now this is my first time doing it. I've watched videos like you're watching mine. So let me go over the recipe one more time. It's basically 1 gallon of water, 3 pounds of beauty berries, 6 pounds of sugar, add in the lemons, add in the yeast, and a cinnamon stick, and boom, you've got wine. The rest of it is all just fermenting process. With any alcohol and fermenting process, it just takes time. So what I'm going to do is I'll end this video after we've pretty much made it and ready to put it into the bucket, and then I'll do a part 2 after, we wait a month or two. Down the road, I'll post that video on how clear it came out, what it looks like, and we'll do a taste test in front of the camera, and you might even see us get a little buzzed. All right, so we're going to stir that in. The warm water helps dissolve that sugar. But we don't want to keep boiling these berries, you're just going to beat them to death that way. So just enough to get this sugar to dissolve. Let those lemons get in there. And this is going to be an amazing wine. When I'm done doing this, we're going to go ahead and make some jelly, which I'm going to do another video on that. And I've got 3 pounds of berries out there sitting in water, getting cleaned up. I'll go ahead and boil those because it's the same process to a point. And I'll show you how to strain them out, not to squeeze the berries, and how to get the juice to get to the stage that we're at right now. I do things backwards sometimes, but it's all based on time and access. But yeah, you're going to really be happy with these results. And like I said, you can do this with any fruit. Grapes in Florida, we got Florida cherries. We got wild blackberries that grow up here. We got the beauty berries, of course, and any fruit will do this. I've never been to jail, but the prison guys is what they do is they collect the orange juices, and they save a piece of bread slice, and they make it in their cells. They take that piece of bread, put it in there, they mix it with the sugar, and the bread is the yeast, and that's how they drink wine in the jailhouse. I had a couple of friends been there and told me that. So same process. Let's get that stirred up nice. No reason to boil it at this point. Like I said, if you keep boiling it and boiling it, you're going to burn out the beauty berries. So we just want it warm enough to get some of that acid from them lemons in there and break it down, dissolve the sugar. And when we're done, this is going to make, we started out with 4 quarts mixed together, it makes a gallon, but plus the beauty berries, plus the lemons, you probably get 4 or 5 jars out of this. Of some really good, potent, delicious tasting wine. Now let me tell you about the fermenting process. When you put it in that bucket, you usually have to have a relief valve on there or something, but since we're putting only a gallon in a 5-gallon bucket, it's not enough to blow the lid off. It's going to pressure, it's going to expand, it's going to work. With the yeast working with the sugar, it's going to start to work. As what you want to do is put it in a cool, actually I like the shed. Shed's nice and warm. You don't want it in the cold, you don't want it in a boiling heat, you just want it in a warm place. And you set it in there, and every chance you get, every other day when you walk by there, pop that lid off, you'll hear it release pressure, and just stir that yeast in there with the sugar, and just keep stirring that mix together every chance you can get. Once a day, once every 3 days, whatever time you got, but it helps with the process. But when you take that lid off, you'll see it working. It'll be bubbling in there, and that's the sugar reacting with the yeast. And I've made wine several times, and it's pretty cool to watch. And I got to tell you, when you get towards the end and you pop the lid off that bucket, you're going to smell the alcohol to knock you off your feet. Wine is no joke when you make it homemade like this. Very potent. And like I said, these beauty berries, if you took them right off the bush and you threw them in your mouth and ate them, you'd say, oh, it's kind of bitter. The great thing about these is they make a beautiful color wine because of the amber color. And like I said, with enough sugar and cinnamon and lemons breaking it all down, you get that good flavor. So they say it's more like a dry wine. So this is my first run, so we're all doing this together. For better or worse, we'll see how this turns out. All right, I think I've stirred this enough. I think at this point, I'm going to shut the burner off. We're going to let that cool down on its own until it gets to room temperature. And then I'll show you how to add the yeast, and boom, we're making wine. Let's get that off the burner. Let that lemon get in there and break it down. And, we're ready for the next step. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. The one thing I did that I mentioned and I did a little differently was I took those lemons out because I had to let it simmer all overnight. And I figured that was enough. I squeezed all them lemons in there and let them rinds get in there. And it had all night under heat to slowly cool down. So I thought that was enough. So I just got rid of those lemons right off the bat and just put the liquid in the bucket. So earlier in the video I had said that I was going to let it ferment with the lemons in there, but I don't see no reason for that. It's not going to really change the fermenting process. It's all about the berries, the yeast, and the sugar. So if you've enjoyed this video, stay tuned for the next one. Go ahead, like and subscribe so I can keep this thing going. It's been a pleasure talking to you folks. Over and out.